Welcome to an hour of HealthMade Radio. HealthMade is a community for natural health seekers where we educate people about common health conditions and share extensive research on the most effective natural health treatments and promote legislation that protects our health freedoms. A core concept belief is in the innate intelligence and healing power of the body, and if properly supported spiritually, emotionally, and nutritionally, it can find its way back to health. HealthMade Radio will bring information from integrative health experts throughout the world. Health is what you make it. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Sylvie Beljanski. She is the author of the award-winning book, Winning the War on Cancer. Sylvie Beljanski was born in New York City after her father, Mirko Beljanski, PhD, came to New York to pursue a 2-year fellowship with Nobel Prize winner Severo Ochoa, known for his DNA research on living cells. Raised and educated in Paris, she attended the Sorbonne, where she received her law degree and was admitted to the French bar. In 1999, Mrs. Beljanski founded the Beljanski Foundation, a registered 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to find natural, non-toxic cures for cancer. She relentlessly educates the public about the effects of environmental toxins on our health and is a sought-after speaker at health and wellness conferences globally. In 2018, Sylvie wrote the award-winning book, Winning the War on Cancer, the epic journey towards a natural cure. It is a critical book to read if you know anyone with cancer. Sylvie, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here with you today.
I am curious. You are a lawyer, and here you are writing a book about cancer. Can you tell me a little bit why that is?
What happened is that I was working as a foreign legal associate in a law firm here in New York. When I called one morning my family in France, I was calling my father at the laboratory, and the phone was ringing. And that was most unusual because my father, he loved to be in the lab. He was there all the time. So I was really quite surprised not to be able to reach my dad. And I called at home to reach out to my mom. And then I heard a voice like that. And I said, Mom, what happened? And the voice said, you cannot speak to your mother. She's under arrest. And then my lawyer's blood make, one turn. And I said, I'm a lawyer. I want to speak to my client. And so I learned that both of my parents had been arrested. And then I started to they had no idea why, my parents. So I started to take care of their legal defense. And as I was diving into the file of the legal defense, I realized that it was not about bringing two people to justice. It was about destroying a research. And then I was on a quest from there. What is this research is about? And why do some people, powerful, obviously, want to destroy it and eradicate that from the earth? Why would you eradicate knowledge? And from there, I started to understand that what my parents' work was really critical to the advancement of cancer research, that they really offered a new paradigm of research, a new way to look at cancer, not as a result of a mutation of a cell, inside the genome, but as a result of a slow destabilization of the DNA as a result of environmental toxins. And that's changed completely the way you look at cancer and also the way you can treat cancer. Because what my father did after that, he found some natural molecules that are able to do exactly the opposite as environmental toxins. They are able to recognize the destabilized DNA within cells and block specifically the duplication of those cells. So it came up really with natural molecules that are able to recognize cancer wherever it's located, because we have one DNA from head to toe. And those natural compounds are not toxic and have no side effects. So that's what the French government was, started to destroy in France, and would have succeeded if a new generation, a second generation, had not stepped in and given a second chance to this knowledge to flourish and to be confirmed.
So I'm curious, your father, with the research that he did and the product that was under development, he treated the French Premier Minister for his prostate cancer, or he was taking it for his prostate cancer, and his cancer disappeared, and then now all of a sudden you have this, the French government or these agencies going after your father, trying to go after this research and get rid of it. So what happened? What changed?
Well, my father's products were able to help a former president, François Mitterrand, to finish his second term, and he was able to do that against all odds. But when, some natural products prove to be more powerful than the official pharmaceutical drugs that the doctor at the French White House, the Élysée, was prescribing to the president, it was giving, publicity to natural products, to an integrative, holistic medicine, and that they could not allow that to happen. Some powerful people were really infuriated to see, not that the president was doing better, but to see that natural medicine was getting here a huge boost politically. And then, people were in the street were saying, well, if it's good for the president, why not for me? And that would have wiped out a lot of money from pharmaceutical companies. So, they sent the army. The French army went, a SWAT team, when on October 1996, they went to the laboratory to arrest my father and the people who were working with him, and they came with 3 moving trucks to take away everything and destroy every evidence of the research.
That's horrific. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Sylvie Beljanski. She is the founder of the Beljanski Foundation. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Sylvie Beljanski, and we're talking about her award-winning book, Winning the War on Cancer. So here you have it. It was not like you're saying, it was not like he was a criminal. It was not like he was doing anything against the law. He was just doing research, and he was just researching substances that had benefited the president of France, enabled him then to get rid of his prostate cancer, which allowed him to be there for a second term as the president. And as soon as the president was not in power anymore, then all of a sudden you have like SWAT teams coming into the laboratory where your father is at, and then with 3 moving trucks to pretty much remove everything there, and then also arrest your mother as well. So that
yes.
So all of this was just going to be eliminated. So, like you're saying, it was pressure from pharmaceutical companies to get rid of this.
Yeah, it's just not arrested my father and my mom. They arrested the doctors who were working with them, and there were several, 70, 80 doctors working with them in France at the time, plus the pharmacists, because it was the products were done under the supervision of a pharmacist. it was not, done in a garage or whatever. It was it was done very properly and very professionally, but they just did not want to hear about it. It was just too good, and so they arrested both of my parents, and then instead of giving my father his day in court, they literally sat on the case, not instructing him, the case, and not giving my father the opportunity to clear his name. So after 2 years, my father actually passed away without having a day in court. So that's why he asked me to take the case to the European Court of Human Rights, which we did, and eventually we won an unanimous decision, Beljanski against France. But unfortunately, too late for my father to see it. That's why I thought, that it was nice to have won a legal battle, but what was remaining, and maybe most importantly, was a scientific battle to prove, get evidence that those molecules are actually active and that they were doing what my father was saying about them.
Yeah. So like you're saying, it wasn't just your father and mother. I mean, there were 70 other doctors, and then the pharmacies, and they were impacted as well, and a number of them were arrested as well. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they were all arrested, and the entire thing was labeled secret defense.
Secret what?
Defense.
Oh.
It was the case was sealed. It was unavailable.
So, yeah, that's scary to see the power of the pharmaceutical companies and how little they want, actual cures for cancer to come about. How they are fighting that. I mean, here we've been battling, since Nixon back in the early 70s, said we were creating a war on cancer. And the issue is, during that war of cancer, when we're finding solutions, pharmaceutical companies are suppressing them to make sure that whatever it is that they have is still what's only available. And obviously, they've had their chance for 50 years now, and how many billions of dollars, I don't know if it's 500 billions of dollars in research, and they're still not getting any further.
No, but they're making their money by researching, not by finding.
Yeah, exactly.
So why would they change, a status quo which is working very well for them? It has been working for, indeed, several decades. Why do they change that? Yeah,
exactly. This is a big money cow, so why would they want to get rid of that? I mean, there's a good friend of mine that's economist, and he was saying that the day America finds a cure for cancer, America's economy is going to collapse, because there's so much tied into the cancer research, the pharmaceutical, the medical. He said these powers are not going to allow this type of research that finds a cure for cancer to surface.
And you can see, the new drugs that are coming out are very often about studying, or bringing a little improvement for a specific mutation of a gene. It's not about finding a general cure for cancer.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you said your father, and I think this is a really interesting point in what you're making. So when they arrested your father, or when they came to the laboratory, they didn't let him leave. They kept him there, and they came in with. Can you tell that story a little bit? How they kept him, and what suits and all of that they came in, and what they did in the lab, and
yes. So according to French law, when you are arresting somebody, you have within hours, you have to take him to present him to a judge. We will decide if he goes to jail or if he goes home, basically. He has to make bail or whatever. But in the case of my father, instead of bringing him within hours to the judge, they told him, well, we will go tomorrow. You stay here tonight, you stay put, and we'll come back to get you tomorrow. And they forced him to stay in the room, and at the same time, they brought a number of people who were covered head to toe, like if they were going to go to the moon, really, and they sprayed some chemicals within the room where they had told my father to stay, and they said they were looking for some plutonium or something that really did not make sense at all. But my father was, inhaling those chemicals all night, and 2 months later, my father was diagnosed with advanced myeloid leukemia. And he was doing very well until then. So the entire thing did not make sense. And as a lawyer, I had access. I was part of the legal defense team, so I had access to the file, and there was no evidence of this, nothing, no record, nothing of the spraying of chemicals in my father's laboratory. Nothing. So I have visual eyewitnesses, and I have no paper record of this chemical spray.
It just shows that the power that these people have, and how hard and how important it is for them to suppress anything that is harmless and beneficial, especially in regards when it comes to cancer. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with the author of the award-winning book, Winning the War on Cancer, Sylvie Beljanski. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Sylvie Beljanski. She is the daughter of the famous researcher Mirko Beljanski that found these compounds had a tremendous impact on cancer specifically. So can you tell me a little bit about these, what your father, first tell me a little bit about what kind of researcher, was your father, and was he just in kind of a small little lab, or was he somebody that was in a well recognized and a good research institutions?
Yes. Indeed, my father was a PhD in molecular biology. He got his PhD at the Sorbonne in 1951, and then he was able to join the Pasteur Institute in Paris, which we know is highly regarded, one of the best places in France to do research. And also from 56 to 58, he had the opportunity to come to New York, work with Nobel Prize Severo Ochoa at NYU, so to complete his fellowship there. So, and then from there he has been working at the Pasteur Institute, and then at the Faculty of Pharmacy near Paris. So until retirement, he has always been working in official capacity.
And so what kind of, first, what was his thought about what caused cancer?
So his idea was that cancer can result from destabilization of the DNA, of the effect of environmental toxins on the cells. And so it's a slow process, And that very, bring us a lot of hope because it is a slow process. It can be stopped, and it can be eventually reversed with proper support. So that's actually extremely positive development. And from there, he went on to find ways to stop the duplication of the cancerous cells and prevent their duplication. And we with the Beljanski Foundation, now in the States, we have been able to carry on with this research, not only confirm what my father had been doing, but take it even a step further with new techniques to research, that were not even possible to consider at the time of my father to explain the mechanism of action. And we have been working with Columbia University on prostate cancer. We have been able to show on prostate cancer that the molecules that my father perfected are able to work at different stages of cancer, from precancerous cells to full-blown cancer to advanced prostate cancer that does not respond to hormonal treatment anymore. And then we went on with Kansas University Medical Center. We were able to show that it was working on other cancer, not just prostate cancer, but because it's working at the level of the DNA, it's not gender or organ specific. So at Kansas University, we have been working on ovarian and pancreatic cancers. And again, we were able to show that it was working on different stages of cancer, and it was working alone, and it was working in synergy with chemotherapies, and it was even working on cancer stem cells, which are responsible for metastasis. All this research has been done both on, on cells and also on animals, and everything has been published in peer-reviewed papers, and everything is available on the website of the Beljanski Foundation, which is beljanski.org.
And so these molecules or these compounds, do they only impact then cancer cells, or do they also impact healthy cells? I mean, how do they differentiate between the healthy versus cancer cells?
So the cornerstone of my father's research is the destabilization of the DNA in cancer cells. The two strands of the DNA look, pretty tight on a normal cell, but are kind of open and loose on cancerous cells, even precancerous cells, inflamed cells. So those little plant extracts are able to recognize where the DNA is loose and go there, knows where to go and block the duplication of those cells whose DNA is destabilized. Kind of intelligence where they know where to go. And it doesn't matter, if it is a breast or a prostate, as long as the cell presents an open DNA, those little extracts will recognize them and go there. And we have seen, you can see, there is an experiment you can do under UV light. It's really, you see that those plant extracts are really rushing to those cells which are cancerous, penetrate the nucleus and the nucleoli of those cancerous cells, and it's not going anywhere else. So because it's not going anywhere else, there is very low toxicity. If you don't have any cancerous cell and you take those plant extracts, you are going to pee the extract within a matter of hours. It's not going to have any effect on your health.
So it really doesn't impact anywhere else on the body other than where you have then destabilized genetic material, so to say, or the cells that have the DNA that's destabilized.
Yeah, and that's what, something that was done on animals. Every time that we had one of those studies done on each organ we studied, there is no effect on the healthy tissues of the animals which were studied. No loss of weight, no dizziness, no nothing. They were absolutely not impacted by the natural treatment.
And one thing also, when we're looking at cancer, you have different types of cancer cells. You have the normal kind of the tumor in itself, which are more of the rapid growing, but then you have what's called, you mentioned earlier, the cancer stem cells, which are actually the ones that are driving the whole process. And we know that chemo and radiation really do not impact cancer stem cells in any shape or form. Well, in fact, they do impact them, but they impact them in a way so that they become more aggressive. And you mentioned that this compound are even able to impact cancer stem cells. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, we made the observation on rats which were, studied for ovarian and pancreatic cancer, that they did not, those which received the paupera or the revolvia extract, they did not develop metastasis. So that took us to the next step, which was to study the effectiveness of the extracts on cancer stem cells. Cancer stem cells are resist to chemotherapy. So when you give chemotherapy to somebody who has a tumor, the doctor says, oh, it's good, it's working, the tumor is shrinking. But in fact, it is, as you said, destroying those cells which are the cancer cells which are the less aggressive, and it's leaving all the space to the cancer stem cells which are the most aggressive. And those cancer stem cells resist chemotherapy and are able to travel and create somewhere else a new tumor. So we are back to stage one again. So as long as we don't have anything to address cancer stem cells, there is no solution to cancer. So that's why it was so important to do this research with those plant extracts. And those plant extracts we did on ovarian and pancreatic cancer stem cells in vitro and in vivo. And indeed, they are selectively destroyed by those plant extracts, both of them.
Yeah, and what's so important, because a lot of the studies that are done, they're done on, they're not done in vivo. They're not done in human bodies. So here you have all these great potential chemotherapeutic drugs or pharmaceutical drugs that look good in a test tube, but it really does not have the same impact in a human body. And here we have then a natural compound that is non-toxic, that actually is showing great promise in vivo or in a human body.
In vivo is in animals here in those studies. We cannot, so the legislation is such that you cannot do research with natural compounds on humans. If you do a clinical trial on a disease, that would mean that you have the intent to treat a disease, and then the FDA will look at the compound like it's a drug. If you intend to treat a disease with it, it's a drug. So that's very important we cannot do, unfortunately, a clinical trial with those compounds. We were able to do a clinical trial at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We had a clinical trial on with little fragments of RNA that my father perfected, which are specific of the bone marrow and are helping the bone marrow to create white blood cells and platelets. And why were we able to have a clinical trial? It is because we were looking at a population of people who were at the verge of thrombocytopenia, which is the loss of platelets induced by chemotherapy. And since people were at the verge of thrombocytopenia, they did not technically have thrombocytopenia, and therefore we were able to have a clinical trial with them and confirm that the little RNA fragments that my father had perfected did wonder. Nobody in the clinical trial had to stop their chemo treatment. Nobody had thrombocytopenia. And their bone marrow seemed to be actually protected as long as they were taking the RNA fragments.
That's wonderful. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Sylvie Beljanski. You're listening to HealthMade Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to HealthMade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I am here with Sylvie Beljanski. She is the founder of the Beljanski Foundation. It is a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to find natural, non-toxic cures for cancer. She's also the author of the award-winning book, Winning the War on Cancer. So you're talking about these what you call RNA fragments, that your father found, or that he
he perfected because
exactly.
Yes,
so he perfected, and not only are they targeting then the destabilized DNA that exists within cancer cells and prevent them from replicating, but also they work in conjunction with an individual who's doing chemotherapy or radiation, and like you're saying, a big implication is that you have that drop in like hemoglobin or white blood cells or platelets, and this compound is then actually able to kind of build that up or keep those levels up so that the patient can handle chemo much better.
Yes, we are actually speaking at different things. The plant extracts have more of an anti-cancer properties, and the RNA fragments are more about boosting the white blood cells and platelets. So it's actually, my father came up with those different natural products that are doing different things and support the cancer patients' needs during all the phases of the treatment, whether the patient is choosing to go to do radiotherapy, chemotherapy, or just, refuses anything chemical or natural.
And so what are you, so you're mentioning the plant extract that he really were interested in. What were those two plant extracts, and why was he so excited about them? I mean, how did he find them?
So my father tested a number of natural things. His idea was that if nature came up with cancer, nature had also come up with anti-cancer natural products, just had to find them. And he tested hundreds of them, but he really at the end focused on two that seemed most powerful than any other things that he had tested. One is called Pao Pereira. It's coming from the Amazon rainforest. We are making a concentrate extract from the bark of the tree. It has shown to have a large spectrum of anti-cancer properties and also antiviral properties, which is quite interesting nowadays. And the Revolvia vomitoria is coming from Africa, and it has a different mechanism of action. It has also anti-cancer properties, but it doesn't work exactly the same way. Let's say that Pao Pereira is destroying cancer cells and Revolvia vomitoria is preventing a new generation of cells. So it actually makes sense to use them both, and is one after the other or together. And then the RNA fragments are completely different. It's not a plant. It's coming from a bacteria but it's also natural.
Okay, so just to kind of summarize so Pau Pereira, you said that one goes after the current cancer cells, the ones that are destabilized, and then the Rauwolfia helps then with preventing the growth of new cancer cells. So they work hand in hand. One is killing or supporting the body to kill what's there, and the other one is supporting the body to prevent new ones to pop up.
Yes, that's actually publications that were done at Columbia University that really studied in depth mechanism of action of those two compounds.
And they work well. I mean, I know the RNA fragments are used during chemotherapy then to prevent the negative effect of the chemo on your white blood cells, platelets, and hemoglobin, and so forth.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the Pau Pereira and the Rauwolfia, they are perfectly safe then to work along with chemo radiation, and they have no negative interactions.
Yeah, so what we were able to show, and that's also a result of the research done at Kansas University Medical Center, is that there is a nice synergy of action, actually, between those plant extracts and carboplatin or gemcitabine. So that was nicely documented that the plant extract actually enhance the result of the chemotherapy.
That's amazing. And so how does an individual, I mean, what is the best way to ingest? I mean, or is it intravenous? Is it tincture?
It's orally also. So there is it's very, very easy. We like people to be followed by a health professional. When they get to us at the foundation, we try always to put them in contact with a health professional, recommend what needs to be recommended based on the individual condition of the person. So for people who are interested, the best is to reach the foundation and ask to be put in relation with a doctor. This is something that the foundation is doing absolutely for free. And we have a number of volunteers who are doing that to put people in relationship with health professionals.
And I know there was I was reading your book, there was a test that came up or mentioned a number of times that he was using. It was called the Onco test. What is that, the Onco test?
So the Onco test was a test that my father created to test for the carcinogenic or anti-carcinogenic potential of a number of products. So that's how he was able to find out that some products that were available, made by the pharmaceutical industry were actually carcinogenic. And that's how also he was able to see that some plant extracts were either mildly anti-carcinogenic or very strongly anti-carcinogenic.
Okay, so this was then to help to determine if a pharmaceutical drug could create cancer or cancer causing.
Yes, induce cancer or help heal from cancer.
Okay, so it could help. And is that test still available, and is it still used?
So in order to realize this test, my parents had perfected over the years kind of library of DNA from different tissues, cancer DNA from liver, healthy DNA from the lung, and things like that. And they were able to test the compounds on those tissues, healthy and cancerous tissues, to see how they were reacted to those compounds. And when the French army came, they just unplugged the fridge where everything was kept.
And I mean, that's horrific. I mean, here you have something that is saving people's lives, and they're just coming in and destroying all of that. I mean, it's just so hard to fathom.
And you cannot, it took them years of friendship with a lot of surgeons to create this library of tissues. And now, it's not possible to do that again.
No, exactly. I was curious also, he also had a fascination with another herb, and it was pretty funny in your book. You were talking about ginkgo leaves, being all over the floor.
Yes.
And so why such a fascination with ginkgo? I mean, I know it's good for memory, but what's the other fascination?
So my father realized that ginkgo was a tree that survived the Hiroshima bombing. There were several trees around the epicenter of the bombings that actually survived the nuclear disaster. And after, he was interested in looking if there was any enzyme or something that would make this tree resist. So he studied intensively ginkgo biloba for that reason, and he found that when he took golden leaves, they are when those which have matured in the fall, and had a specific extraction process, he came up with an extract which helps with fibrosis and burns. And that's the link with Hiroshima, protects from burns. So he started to use that on mice that were radiated, heavily radiated, and he saw that they were nicely protected, and even their ability to reproduce was protected, even though they had been heavily radiated. So that's how we started to study ginkgo, this golden extract of ginkgo biloba, which is quite different from the green extract that is available everywhere, commercially available everywhere. And this golden extract has shown to be able to help with fibrosis, also help with regulating the enzymes of the liver and the transaminase of the liver, more specifically, which tend to go havoc when somebody has cancer. And because they help regulate the liver, they help also with the repair of the tissues, and especially after surgery.
That's amazing. So with, for instance, on radiation, I mean, the whole idea is that you are radiating cancer cells and oxidizing them and killing them, but if you would then take the ginkgo or your type of ginkgo that is different than what you find in a health food store, you would then be able to protect then the healthy cells from the negative impact of radiation. Exactly.
And the funny story is that my grandparents were collecting those leaves in season for my parents, and they were putting them in the apartment on the floor to get them to dry out. And I was about 16 when I brought home my first date. And we were, teenagers. And I was bringing the first boy at home. It was a big event for me. And we pushed the door, and there were leaves, smelly leaves everywhere.
Yeah, that is always a teenager girl's dream, is to bring their boyfriend home, and then you have ginkgo leaves all over the floor.
Yeah, I never saw him again. It was a disaster.
Yeah, you're sad to say, usually that's what happens. Oh, wonderful. And I wanted to just close with you talking, also mentioned, since it's very fitting this time in history in regards to antiviral properties and substances. And you touched on that a little bit in regards to these extracts, the two extracts that your father been working with. So
sure, it's only the Pao Pereira. The Pao Pereira has shown also to have antiviral properties. My father studied that first on virus of plants, and then he moved on to a number of other viruses that, at the time it was herpes. It works very well on that, on common influenza. And then in the 80s came AIDS. So he studied on the effect of Pao Pereira on HIV virus. He was able to have a clinical trial in France showing that it was working very well on HIV virus, but the French government was not interested in pursuing that again. Of course, we have not been able to study the effect of Pao Pereira on COVID-19, but we have received a number of very favorable testimonials at the foundation. So we are hopeful that it can help also people with that regard. Although, again, it has not been scientifically tested.
Wonderful. Well,
but it looks like there is, the extract is able to recognize those viruses, which are RNA viruses, and COVID-19, just like HIV or just like herpes, is an RNA virus and is able to prevent also the duplication of those viruses, because the way they look, their structure, is quite similar to a cancerous cell.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's amazing. And yeah, so you're talking about even things like retroviruses, I mean, like HIV and so both RNA, I mean, the COVID-19 that we're talking about, it's more kind of a double-strand RNA virus, but then also retroviruses, which are known then to go in and genetically manipulate a cell. So the Pao Pereira, just like it's able to target then cancer cells, it's also drawn towards these viruses to kill them.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful. Well, Sylvie, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm so grateful for the fight that you have put forth to make sure that all the hard work that your father and your mother put forth to bring this research forward, that it's still available and people can still benefit from that.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to all the people who have, supported me to carry on this legacy and start all over again. And I'm grateful to you also to give me the opportunity today to speak about it. That, makes all the difference.
Well, thank you so much, Sylvie. That is it for today. You're listening to Health Made Radio. Remember to check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it.